I just wanted to thank you all for being here, and I'm so sorry we couldn't be in person at the Sunscreen Film Festival, but we're so glad that you brought the Miseducation of Bindu to the festival. Really enjoyed it. Why don't we start off with you, Pratna, and how about you tell me a little bit about how you came to make this film, and I see Kay, your co-writer, how did you come up with this idea?
Definitely. So thanks for having us. We're so excited that the Miseducation of Bindu can play at the Sunscreen Festival. It's been a long journey with you guys, so we're really happy that it was finally able to happen, COVID and everything. The Miseducation of Bindu has been a journey that I have been on with my partner in crime right over there, Kay. We went to grad school together, and she wrote a short that this movie was based on over 10 years ago. And I remember reading it and being like, who is this woman? She is so smart and she's so funny. I need to be friends with her. And that's what we did. I met up with her and we've been working on projects since. So Bindu is based on the short. It wasn't at the time Bindu, it was actually Wendy. But a lot of the themes and some of the scenes are similar. And then when we finished grad school, we wrote a feature which still didn't have Bindu in it. It was still Wendy. And about 5 years ago, we decided to rewrite the film with an Indian lead. We felt like it was finally time to sort of embrace the story with a different point of view. And that's how Bindu was born. And that's how we were able to really explore all the other things that come with her being an immigrant, and also the time and place when the story is being told, which is today, which was so different from 10 years ago. That's sort of the journey of how we got here.
Did it bring any other challenges? How did you meet Megan? AKA
Megan is the perfect unicorn that our casting agents found for us. When we decided to write her as an Indian character, that was the biggest challenge. We were like, who are girls out there, actors who can play a high school student who's Indian, because you don't see a lot of them on TV. And we were lucky enough to meet casting directors who really found us some wonderful choices. But Megan was just like on another level. And I think the thing that really made Megan stand apart was the fact that Megan is naturally a very funny person. She hasn't said anything yet, but just wait and she starts talking and then it's just game over. She's hilarious and she really understands comedy. She understands comedic timing, and she really embraces being a weirdo. We all do. We are proud weirdos. We love being weird. It's who we are. We can't be anything else. And she really kind of got the part, you know. So sometimes I'd have to be like, are you being Megan or are you being Bindu? Like, what's going on here? So we were so lucky to find her, because she really makes this movie for sure.
Is this the first screenplay you've written together?
Yeah, I think for me, I went to the school for screenwriting, so I had numerous projects. This was my first feature that was filmed, and it's always wonderful when somebody who's your friend who kind of gets you is your director who kind of knows you're crazy. So I was really lucky that Pratna filmed my first feature.
This is your feature debut?
It is.
And so you've done shorts in the past. How is this different, making a feature versus the shorts?
In so many ways. I remember when we, everything from writing it to directing it to editing it. I remember when we wrote the first 10 pages of the script, it took a while, but we got there. And then we were like, wow, we just wrote a short. And then we would write like another 10. I was like, that's another short, And I remember when we were editing it, we spent maybe the first 3-4 days, we got the first 10-15 minutes of the movie done. And I was like, we have to do this for another, 99 times. And I have to watch this movie 1 million times. How am I going to ever get through this? This is tough. But I can't tell you, it just becomes so second nature. Everything that's different about making a short from a feature is, for the pre-production time, the amount of money you need to raise, the humans that need to come together to do it, the time that it takes to do it. We shot this movie in 18 days, which, is not a very long schedule. But it was pretty intense. I mean, 94 pages in 18 days. Megan was in every single scene except one.
I just want to also say that since Pratna and I have been friends for many, many years, even though this is one of our first collaborative feature. What's really cool about being friends with a fellow female filmmaker is sometimes I bring projects that I'm in the middle of working on, even if it doesn't involve her, and vice versa. So I feel like I've gotten to be a part of a large body of her work and her with me. She's just working on like this cool new script right now, and it's so nice when like one of your very good awesome female filmmaker friends is like, I want you to be one of the first to read it. And so we do a lot of collaborative stuff behind the scenes like that already.
Megan, was there a favorite scene or favorite location that you had when you were filming?
I had a blast doing them all. I really did. It was so much fun. But I remember when I first read the script, I knew that there was a makeout scene. I'd never done that before. I've never, done that on screen. And I was just really nervous. And then, of course, who gets cast for me to do that with is like an actual model and just a superhuman being. And I was like, great, love this. I'm going to kill this. But that ended up being one of the most fun scenes because our art department director, Gordon, was like in a Speedo fishing out the money. We had to switch scenes so many different times, get dry, jump back in. And I'm just so glad that every person, and any scene with Robert Bogue, our principal, oh my goodness, that man is the most funniest person I've ever been in the presence of. Every single take, it was a new take, and I'm so glad that we filmed his shots first, because if you actually play enough tension, you can see my shoulders just moving like this because I was dying of laughter. Laughter.
He was a tough one because all his jokes were so funny. Cutting around him was hard because we didn't know which one to keep and which one to get rid of. His scenes were just a riot. And he doesn't remember any of it. He finally saw the movie and he's like, that's what I did? And I was like, yep, that's what you did.
Since Megan mentioned it, she was encountering some things that she had never done before. How do you work with that?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we did before we shot this scene is that Megan, Gordon, we went to dinner together, and we kind of just broke down the scene, really talked about like things that would make you uncomfortable, how we can sort of make sure the set is closed, there's not like a million people there so you can feel comfortable. A lot of these things actually went out the window because Gordon, our producer and art director at the time, came in a Speedo and just kind of like lightened the mood, and everybody was just like, all right, I guess we're not that stressed anymore. When after that intense scene, it goes into being like, Bindu's back, being awkward and weird. I actually can, like, the first time we watched it in Mill Valley, I remember like there was like a collective like, oh, thank God, now we feel like we know this movie again, where people are like, whoa, it just got a little too intense. So I think we try to, talk through a lot of things with the actors, making sure they're comfortable. They wanted to, between takes, sometimes they went and sat separately just to sort of like make sure they're able to come back to the point where they were emotionally. So whatever we can do to assist them to get there, it's kind of what we do, trying to figure out like what is the comfort level, how do the different actors work. Some of them don't want that. They just want to be like, let's just get to it. But then another actor needs it. So then you shoot the actor who just wants to do it first, get their takes, and then let the other person like work into that spot. So you kind of find their working style and then plan your shots and your day around that. But again, all of that takes a while because you don't figure that out on day one. And in an ensemble cast, they all had different ways of working. So finding, how you would do it was very important. I had one of our actors, like, I would always tell him he had fewer takes than he wanted. So he was forced to give me his best performance right off the bat. Because if I let him, he would do like 12 takes and still be really unhappy with what he did. And I was just like, you have 2 takes, that's it. Let's do this. And he was like, what? And he nailed them. He was incredible. I mean, he's a very good actor, but he needs time. But if you get it, like, just scare him into it, he was just like, he would just pull out these wonderful performances. So there are all these different things that you figure out as you work with the actors.
Well, to your point, as you were talking about having to adjust to the different actors, I imagine it must have been really difficult when you have 18 days of filming. That's it. You have to hit the ground running, and you almost kudos, because you have to like figure that out so quickly and then be able to adapt.
I would say most of that goes to the actors. The thing that we also had in addition to the 18 days was that we had this huge school. It was massive, but we had to shoot out locations. So chronologically, we were not filming. So her emotional arc in one scene could be like, it's at the beginning of the school and she's excited and anxious, to like she's running for her life. And the next scene, to she's in a water treatment, now she's dancing here, you know? So a lot of what I would do to Bindu was be like, this is what just happened. This is what's about to happen. This is where we need to get to. And she'd be like, okay, got it. That's where we are. Cool. And then she'll do it, you know? So it was a lot of that. And many days we would have a new actor come on set for the first day, but would have their biggest scene as their first scene, you know? And then I'd be like, okay, so that's where you started, but in the film, that's where you end. So we got to work you up to that now because we already have that on tape. So if you gave me this performance, we got to work your performance all the way up so that it matches, so it doesn't suddenly feel like you're just going nuts in some scene, you know? So there's a lot of things like that that I had to like keep straight in my head to make sure that I was getting them all to the right spot where their characters felt justified. And I really want to thank all of them for being so gracious and wonderful and just working through it. You know, they would always be like, where are we now? Where are we going? Where was I? And I'll be like, this is where you were, this is where we're going, and this is now. And they're like, okay, got it, you know? And it's not easy for the actors too, because you have to switch out of that sort of emotional state. And for Bindu, that was incredibly difficult because she would go from being like, you know, running from boys to like confronting boys to crying to dancing, all in the span of like, I don't know, half a day, and then it's lunch, and then it's the complete reverse in another place, you know? So that's why it really, it's kudos to her and all the actors for really just committing and doing the work and being just wonderful about it, because we couldn't have done it otherwise.
I have to jump in and just say that I thank you so much, but I feel like the more that I've been lucky enough to work on sets, the more I've realized that it definitely goes hand in hand. You know, it's great to have good actors to work with, good people, because they set the tone, but the director really does set the tone, and just the crew as well. So I was so grateful because I'm hearing these stories now, P, of how stressed out you were, and of course, imaginably so, but I never felt that from you, like at all. And even when we had those days we were pushing time, it was and even with Kay, because Kay was also our costume designer, and so I saw Kay in the morning, one of the first people that I saw, and it was always, no matter, I would have never known how much pressure you were actually under, even though like as someone who's been in the arts, I know, but no, it's definitely a give and take, and I feel like I'm so grateful because that could have definitely gone completely sideways if someone was like, ugh. Like I'm so glad that Bindu got to be the crazy one that like was jittery and like what's going on. If it was two people, that would have been way too much.
I want to chime in. I don't think that Prada, I don't think you know this about your director style or your general style, but you come in and you're just like, we got it. It's cool. It's going to be fine. It's great. And you might be inside just like, but everybody else is like, it's fine. We're going to be fine. I'm fine. And like, we walk away going like, it's going to be fine. So she instills that relaxation, maybe forced relaxation in all of us.
I'm glad I do, because inside I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Day 3. Buckle up, kids. It's about to be wild.
Well, I wanted to thank you all for being here, taking the time to speak with us. I wish you could have been here in person, and I'm hoping that your next projects, whatever they may be, that you bring them to Sunscreen, come down to St. Pete, Florida, film in Florida. We want you, come on down. Yes, I agree, yes. So thanks again, and be well. See you soon.
Thank you, Julie. It was so much fun. We really appreciate your thoughtful questions, and for everybody who watched our movie. Thank you so much.